question. It says, what's your biggest advice for the interview process and job search? So whoever wants to go first can go first.
I can start. So I think the biggest thing, be prepared. Be prepared to be told no a lot, but also be prepared to question yourself, because I think there comes a time where it doesn't matter how many times you repeat something that you wrote down, you really have to dig in and understand why you're doing what you're doing, what's the reasoning behind what you chose, and be able to explain that with ownership. And I think the biggest thing for me was I knew a lot. I am like a sponge from reading, but I had a really hard time expressing myself. And the most important thing for me was to really dig in deep and find my own words to describe the things that I knew in my head. So that when I said them, they sounded more confident and they sounded like I actually knew what I was talking about. Because if I was just word vomiting all the things that I knew, it just sounded like chaos. So I think it's really important to never stop applying. Literally, like I had gotten my offer and I was still interviewing because I just needed to make sure that it was an absolute yes before I got out of this like hardcore mode, and prepare all the time. Like, it doesn't matter how much you know, it matters how much it sounds like you know. That makes sense. But yeah.
It definitely makes sense. I remember I used to do that a lot at my past old job. I was like, I have to pretend like that I'm the most knowledgeable person in here. And honestly, like the more practice you get, the better you get at doing that, and the better you get at communication skills as well. So I definitely agree. Practice does make perfect. Christy, do you want to go next? Any advice that you would give for people interviewing?
In terms of interviewing, is be confident in yourself, because I was not confident at all in myself. And I think everyone on the call, even Maka, knew I drank a lot of coffee. So when I went to interviews, guys, this is how I literally sound. Hi, my name is Christy. I'm so happy to be here. I'm so yes. And I'm like, I sounded crazy. I sounded like a nut job. Because I was so nervous. And when they asked me a question, in terms of saying, if I don't know the answer, it's best to say, I don't know the answer, or that's a good question, let me get back to you. I would be so defensive and just a little bit angry at myself for not knowing the question. But one thing I could say is if I did not know the question, I would write the question down, and next interview, I will be ready. And also to know your portfolio inside and out, because the project that I was not really passionate about actually got me hired, because I learned to be passionate about it. And I was just like, I don't want to do this. I was like, I'm not passionate. Just because because in terms of your case study, I had 3 case studies, and there was one case study, it was like a sneaker app, and I knew everything about it. And I think everybody was just like, we're tired of this. Can you please show us something new? Please show us something new. So just knowing your case study inside and out is really good. And also just being confident, because I went into an interview and I said, the client went with a UI iteration 1. And they said, why did the client went with that as opposed to that? I said, because I designed it, that's why. Everybody just laughed. And I was like, yeah, you gotta be confident. I was like, that girl, you have to be confident in yourself, because if you have any hesitation or if you're not confident in yourself, guess what? The person interviewing you is not gonna be confident in yourself. In you. And sometimes I'm like, wow, there's a career path out there for a big mouth girl like me, because everyone that knows me personally on this call knows I have so much to say. My mouth is so big. I'm like, everybody knows me. So it's like, you have to be ready to defend your design and just know your portfolio inside and out, and just be yourself. Because I remember when I had my first recruiter call, that's just a recruiter call. I took the call outside of my car because I was freaking out. And I think I asked like some weird question where I was like, do you know what software they're gonna use? What is this? And I think I didn't get, of course, another interview because I felt like I should have been confident in myself. And because I was not confident, I did not move to the next round. And you're gonna feel so confident in yourself to the point, like even Alfie like said, you're gonna be taking these recruiter calls in the bathroom, like, what do you want, Margaret? Yeah, okay, yeah, let's do it. All right. You're gonna be so confident. So show up to every interview. Like there is like, don't freak out, because some interviews I had with startups, they were with the CEO and you're like, oh my God, it's a CEO. Oh my God, I'm so scared. They don't understand design, but they do understand the process. And more importantly, they want to understand it also from a business point of, okay, what was the result? What was the metric? But don't be intimidated by a person's job title is what I would say. And just be confident in yourself and speak slowly, please. I'm done.
Period. I love that. I love everything that you mentioned in that, because it's true. I think having confidence in yourself and also the practice, right? Like what gives you that confidence is being able to practice, like look in the mirror and be like, this is what I know, and I'm going to distribute my knowledge in this call, and just trust in yourself. But I love that you said that. And Coach, any advice that you can give out?
Yeah, guys. So my experience with interviews might be kind of different, because from a very young age, like I've always been working since 17. Like I've always had a job, and like around the ages of 19 and 20, I would apply to jobs that I wasn't qualified for, and just like eventually they would call and I'd be like, oh shoot, like how this actually happened, and I would like kind of adjust my experience and tailor it to that. So I think that benefited me the most, was just like, especially coming from like an age where I was like dealing with people and dealing with customers and dealing with those expectations, like whether it was in service or data or whatever, applying all of my previous experiences and knowing they hold value in this, and knowing that they wouldn't be interviewing you if they weren't interested in you. And I feel like when it comes to like these interviews, like doubling down on what Christy had said, you know, knowing your portfolio front to back, you know, doing as much research on UX as you can. Like a lot of the questions that I've gotten through these interviews were very redundant. And I felt like very much just like being confident, giving them concise answers. And if they want more details, like definitely gives them that. Sometimes it's not so much as just like giving, even if it sounds like a yes or no question, they kind of want you to give that more detail without asking them that. And if you're able to do that and get to the point and give them exactly what they want to hear, like you're good. Like I feel like don't be nervous. Like it's definitely an understandable feeling, but there will always be more opportunities for you. And I think keeping that in mind and knowing that it's not just this or the end of the road is very important. And also asking them questions as well. For every job that I got an offer for, like I didn't just stop at the questions that I had, or the only question I had wasn't just like, oh, something about the company. Like I would ask them, like, can you name me a time where you felt like you were challenged, or where you felt you had to defend your own design decisions, or so on and so forth. Just whatever kind of like, you know, had something connected to our conversations. And the response would be, oh, wow, no one's ever asked me that before, or is this and that, or like, oh, that's a really good question. Whenever I hear that, I'm like, nah, I got him. But no, absolutely, like asking them questions, not just about the company, but about them as designers or whoever they may be, because they love that. And I feel like that definitely shows them that you're someone that has a lot of knowledge in your field and someone that they would like to hire. And yeah, apply to as many jobs as you possibly can. Because when you know you have those options and you know, like you put that work in, even if an interview seems like a bust, you know you have more coming. And I won't lie, like I remember the first job I had, you know, moved forward with was Blue Raven Solar. My last interview was the design challenge, which I absolutely hated. Like whole interview, the CEO was there, he was like he seemed so upset. And I was like, oh my God, like I put so much time into this. I don't know what's gonna happen. But before I heard the results of that, I was already getting other interviews, and I was like, well, even though that's probably what is going to be a bust, which it did, I know that I have other options. And I feel like that confidence in knowing that traffic was going to continue to come, you know, just made me better at interviewing. And I love just talking anyway. So doing Q&As type of interviews was easy for me. If Credera, PNC, or Weave ever did a design challenge, I probably wouldn't have gotten that job, because I'm terrible at those. I'm terrible at like not knowing what is coming or what they're going to have me design. But if they're just asking me these same questions, like it's raps. So just pay attention to those patterns, write down those answers, and just figure out how you can, give some better responses in the future.